Well, welcome to Myra and Tiffany. I'm so excited to have you ladies here. I've shared a little bit about your roles at Christ Lutheran, but nothing at all about your personal lives. So can you share just a little bit about your families and anything that's unique to you, like hobbies or favorite things to do? Help these folks get to know you a little bit. Tiffany, why don't you go first?
Sure. So thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and be a part of this. But just to answer the question, my husband, Corey, and I, we have two beautiful daughters and one handsome little guy. And we met at college while both pursuing a degree in church work. So from the moment we said I do, we know that we had not only committed to a lifetime to each other, but for our family in the church. And so, we understood the weight of that, but also the blessing that came with it. So Corey serves on staff as our director of Next Gen Ministries for children and youth, while I'm kind of more on the adult side with this director of discipleship and outreach. And our children attend school here at Christ Lutheran. So every day we all get to get in the car together and travel to the same place. And so we really couldn't ask for more where that's concerned. But my hobbies, I think the one that's been most present in my life as of recent is just really being into fitness and most specifically strength training. And I actually went ahead and got my certification to be a personal trainer. And so that's just been really kind of a cool side part-time hobby and passion of mine. So
I love it. Fantastic. Myra, how about you?
I am the mother of three sons, all adults now, and they are 38, 35, and 23. I have been married to my husband, Tom, for 46 years. 46 in a couple of weeks. And so thank you. Yeah, we have, unlike Tiffany, when we got married, neither one of us signed up to be a part of the church. And so this has come as a surprise to him. I was in my 30s when I came on staff with the church. I think that I had experienced a little bit of a call in high school, but I was a runner from that. I was a Jonah. And I said, no, I don't think so. So I went different directions than when I was in my 30s. It just felt like this was where God was calling me to be. So Tom has been my partner in ministry, though that was not necessarily his choice. But, God works in strange and interesting ways. In
Absolutely.
terms of hobbies, I am retired now for about 4 years, and my favorite thing recently is I took a road trip. I love driving. I love getting in the car and saying, I wonder where we'll end up. And so I had the opportunity this summer to do a road trip of from my house out to Tacoma, Washington.
Big trip.
By myself. And so this was like, since I had children, this was the longest period of time that I was without commitments to anybody else. And it was wonderful. Yeah. I also like to garden and play around in my yard.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Let's stick with you, Myra. You talked about an episode in the 30s that kind of pushed you into ministry, even though that was something you weren't real, you didn't have your eyes set on. What for both of you, starting with Myra, what one or two top events have led you into ministry on staff at a church, and in particular having this emphasis on disciple making that influences the fully alive conversation?
Yeah. So I was engaged in a women's small group Bible study at the time, and just had been leading as a volunteer periodically, kind of, take turns around the table kind of thing. But it was something that I felt I really enjoyed, and people affirmed that it was something that I was good at. And so I was working as a dietitian at the time, being a full-time mom, and then going back into that profession, but was between jobs for a while, and just felt this sense that I could go into the church office and say, hey, I've got some time, I can volunteer, I can serve. And
It's a slippery slope, Myra.
It's a slippery slope. Yeah, it was like I knew that this would be something that would be fun, that it would be productive, and it was something that I really felt like I needed to do. So that's, when I think about a calling, I think about it's that thing that you can't not do. You're
I
going to
love
do
it.
it one way or the other. So that led to the staff position. And actually, I started out in care ministry, started the Stephen ministry in our church. And then over a period of time, when my third son came along, I retired again. And after about a year and a half, 2 years, I was meeting with the pastors about another volunteer related type thing, and just noticed the gap that we had between discipling our children and youth, which we were strong and good at,
Right.
and discipling our adults, the gap was wide. And the team that was meeting, realized that it's really hard to stay good at discipling children and youth if you're not also discipling their parents. So that brought me back onto staff eventually in adult discipleship. And through a long and winding road, I finally met you and said, disciples made is what we've been looking for. So
love it. Myra, there's 3 parts of your story I want to just highlight real quick before turning to Tiffany to ask the same questions. There was kind of an affirmation from somebody that you were good at something. There was a sense of urgency on you that says, like, I have to do this. And then the third one was, a need that needed to be met. You saw a need. So it's just interesting for those of you looking to engage this fully alive life and trying to find your sense of calling. What are people saying you're good at? And what's the gut pull that you have, if any? And is there a need that you see that can be addressed? So that, I don't know if that's going to be similar for Tiffany's story or not, but that's certainly a part of mine. So Tiffany, how about you?
Sure. I think there's some similarities for sure, especially in that somebody recognized it maybe before I did. In my adolescence, I had a youth director that definitely probably saw that calling before I did, and just was consistent about talking to me about what my gifts were, but like also what my own desires were, and where I saw my future. And so it really wasn't until my senior year in a retreat that we went on where it just all kind of clicked all of a sudden, and I could see what he saw. And it was frightening at the time. I cried. But I pursued that degree. And while I was at college, I did kind of run from a little bit of it, in that I changed my major halfway through and went the education route. And so I spent some time in our parochial schools as a childcare director. But towards the last couple years, I found myself working outside of my job description a lot, and starting our MOPS group and leading that, and then helping to establish a small group ministry at our congregation. Just right after that is when this opportunity at Christ became available at Christ Lutheran, where Myra had decided she was retiring from that position, and they were looking for someone to fill it. And I was really nervous about it, but I interviewed for it, and it's really brought about a lot of blessings. And I really think it's finally helped me find that sweet spot where I was supposed to be, where I'm most fulfilled, where I feel like God can make the most impact through me. So, and then, I get to have Myra as a mentor, and that led me to you, and then as well as my supervising pastor. And so I just count myself very blessed in that. So.
Go God. Yeah, the other thing I saw there, in addition, like somebody saw something in you, you stepped into it. You saw the need of MOPS, Mothers of Preschoolers, which is a ministry. You saw a need for moms to get connected. You stepped into that, and that gave you kind of a picture of a next step, and it's led to here. So I just love that. Love hearing that. All right. So the topic of this conversation is about being made righteous. And I've got a pretty hefty agenda with the podcast and your questions that you've been made aware of with these questions. And the agenda is to kind of ask I'm going to save that. And I just want to ask, so very, very candidly, before you got the questions, before you knew of my little agenda, you heard the being made righteous. So what was your first candid response? That's going to be the topic. And candid, by candid, I mean, embarrass me, I don't mind. Like, what was your first response? Tiffany, let's start with you.
Why me? I mean, honestly, I think I knew Myra could articulate it well. That's not me. So I was just like, I'll do my best, but that, yeah.
So I'm hearing I'm in, but I have no idea how I'm going to do that. So, okay, yeah. That's interesting. Myra, how about you?
Yeah. So, that came to me via email. And so I looked at that, and my first thought was, okay, I focused on the being made, and I went, being made is a good thing. I can talk about that. If he had written being righteous, there would be no way. I can talk a long time about how I'm being made righteous. But if you focus on being righteous, that would be an embarrassment for me.
I want to double click on that, but I'm gonna pause on that for now. Maybe that'll come out in some later questions here. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna take some liberty and make a guess here. And you guys tell me if I'm missing this or not. Tiffany, you heard being made righteous, and you kind of understood that as a theological proposition, like a statement, a declaration that has to be articulated and articulated well, and is generally only articulated well by those that have studied it properly, etc. It's almost like your mind and soul went there.
Yep.
And Myra focused in on more of the how does this actually change my life? Is that fair? Is that a fair assessment of what happened?
I think so.
So that's interesting, because that really plays into my agenda, so to speak, with this. And it's not my agenda necessarily for this podcast, but it's my agenda as a pastor who recognizes that people can fall into one of three places when it comes to this idea of being made righteous. They can have zero idea what it means. They can make it just a theological statement or a proposition or truth that needs to be articulated right, and protect against people that articulate it incorrectly, which perhaps was some of your hesitancy, Tiffany, which is interesting, right? Like, we do need to know the truth, and the truth will set us free. But if the whole project becomes about making sure we say it just right without the application, then our theology is not serving us as fully, or our truth is not serving us as fully as it could. And then Myra went down the, I am being made. I'm in a process. That truth is actually changing my life. Okay, so if y'all are thinking that that's pretty clear, I'm just going to invite all of our listeners to say, when it comes to being made righteous, which of those three buckets are you in? And if you're in the I don't know what it is, then we're going to have some fun. And if it's a theological statement, we got to be made right, and that's where you default, then hopefully we'll have some fun challenges for that. And if you're in the process of letting Jesus turn you from unbelief to belief in every area of life, then righteousness is a product to follow. So I talked way too much there, because I guess I do have more of an agenda than I thought. But let's say you ask 100 members in your church, which bucket they're in. Where would they be, you think? Let's start with you, Myra.
So I think I don't think I can give you a good percentage, but I think that a lot of them would respond with the cliche answer of, God's not finished with me yet.
Okay.
Which kind of indicates that they understand that it's not that it's a shared thing. But I think it also indicates just I don't know. And I think some would give you the theological answer of, God has made me righteous in Jesus Christ. It's grace alone. It's, and.
Gotcha. Tiffany, what would you add?
Yeah, I struggled a little bit. I think there are some that would definitely have that theological answer, maybe some process. But I do think there are also going to be those that just say, I'm not sure I could do that word justice, so I'm really hesitant to even answer it. So.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, let's go ahead and address the theology. There's multiple verses in the scripture that talk about a concept of justification. And it's a legal declaration that gets made on you as we place our faith in Christ, as we turn our lives over to Jesus and say, I admit I don't have what it takes to live fully alive. I want to claim your fully alive life as my own, and then trust you to help me actually become what you've declared me to be. So there is a declaration portion of this. Mm-hmm. And that's what we mean by being made righteous. You're legally declared righteous, even though you're not yet what you're declared to be. So let's just put that out there. So let me ask the question, what's the danger? What do you think is the danger if people just grab the theological declaration alone and don't accept that there's an entire life of transformation in the wake of the declaration? What's the danger with that? And Tiffany, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think it's you run the risk of, having the knowledge but not acting out on the call to action portion of it. There's, yes, the work starts with the salvation, through Christ, but then, why would we waste that? Why wouldn't we turn around and then, step into that life that he's prepared for us in, every single day in every aspect of our life. So.
Awesome. Myra.
Yeah, I totally agree with Tiffany's answer on that. And I think there's one more thing. I think you run the risk of discouragement. Because if you're caught in that theological answer that this is something that's already been done, but what you see in your life every day doesn't reflect that, it can be very discouraging.
Indeed. One of the reasons we're digging into this concept is one of the uniques about the fully alive community and the disciples made process in general is measurable transformation. We actually want to help you measure that righteousness. And we believe that comes with an intentional focus on developing the fruit of the Spirit or character and identifying the gifts and the passions that the Spirit of God has given you to actually make a difference. And the word for that is calling. So character and calling are the ways we actually measure transformation, or to use the term in this podcast, to become more righteous. So you guys, Myra, it was like 2014 or 15, so almost 9 years ago that we met, and then Tiffany a few years later. How, as we've done this, how has your answer to being made righteous changed in the last 5 years? Or how has your perspective of what that means changed in the last 5 years? Myra, let's start with you.
I have I've moved more and more to the side of something that I can relax into and be comfortable with. The level of trust that God's got this, that the Spirit is working, instead of me having to push and, less of my effort, more leaning in and trusting in God's effort, I think is how I would describe it. And that has come, that is hard bought. It is, I have been in this process of developing character and calling, understanding it from that perspective for 5, 6, 7 years for sure, and I really feel like it's just been in the last couple of years that it's like I can relax, I can lean into that, I can allow Him to make me rather than me trying to make myself what I know He wants me to be.
Something tells me we could spend about 4.5 years unpacking what you just said, and I could feel it with the pacing of how that came out, that there's much story behind it, and I really don't want to keep going far. I'm not going to dig in, but I just want our listeners to live with that for a minute. What does that mean? Like, I can finally rest into the process of actually becoming instead of trying to strive myself into it. I think it has something to do with the balance of righteousness. This is a statement right out of a blog that just came out not long ago. And it's righteousness is both a gift we receive and a condition to pursue. It's almost like the gift was received, but that wasn't the total thing. It's like, that's the declaration. So now I don't have to worry. I can rest. But now I have the freedom in that rest to continue to receive and to pursue at the same time. I love that. Tiffany, I don't want to take away from you. What last 5 years, what's shifted for you?
Yeah, I think it's the action thereafter that's really become more concrete for me. It's that continual growth in obedience and character, and also just like Myra said, there's a little sense of like comfort and like sigh of relief in being able to finally accept the parts of me that he's created that I think I've been too scared to acknowledge for a while, just because I think I was relying too much on my own strength and my own ability rather than relying on his strength and ability to ignite those gifts for his purpose. And so, just it's and then in turn like helping to others to understand that, especially those that aren't in professional church work ministry. They often are like, just leave that to the professionals, but to help everybody understand that they carry that same power through the gifts that they've been given, and then the tools that we've been given to help build that character and protect us in the process.
And that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So how would you ladies both, and Tiffany, we'll start with you, knowing that it's both a gift we receive and a condition to pursue, how's that personally helped you? I'm going to go ahead and use the phrase, become more righteous, not more righteous in a legal standing, but more righteous in a, hey, I'm not the person I used to be. What kind of shifts have happened for you guys? Start with Tiffany.
Sure. I think for me, it's really helped me to be more aware of my choices, but also more forgiving to myself when I do fail, in understanding, that I don't have to get it perfectly. I just have to be willing to try, and I have to be willing to trust that when things don't go the way that I had laid them out in my head, that's not a failure on me. That's God's presence in my life, redirecting things and helping me to work in spite of myself and in spite of my human condition.
That's gold. Listen, friends, if you missed that, rewind, hit the little 15-second backwards button a few times, and make sure you listen to that a few times. What I'm going to say it a different way for her, just to put the exclamation point on what she said, because it is such a brilliant analysis of what happens. Usually when we do something stupid, we waller in stupid or disqualify ourselves from what was perceived as God's favor on us. And it separates us. It takes us away. I think that's the voice of an enemy to our soul, not God himself. God is saying, I have already made you righteous. I've already forgiven you. Would you stop being harder on yourself than I am? Rest in the forgiveness and the love and the commitment from my side. Get yourself out of the waller and get yourself back into abiding with me in a continued pursuit. That's huge. Thank you for saying that, Tiffany. Such a big deal. All right. So Myra, sorry, I keep stealing y'all's stuff and sermonizing and then coming back. So,
and then I got so excited about it, I forgot the question.
Me too. I forgot the question. No, but basically, how has, living with that, knowing that it is a gift to receive and a condition to pursue, how has that tension, how's that beauty helped you personally grow?
Yeah. So one of the things is the identity. Coming to a realization that I am in Christ, that Christ is in me, and that we're not separated. And it's not something that I'm going to do apart from him. It's something that I can relax and let him do in me. It takes away the shame and the blame, which kind of, I think, goes along with what Tiffany said. But it also gives permission to make choices. And I think that was one, sometime in the last 2 or 3 years, in one of my followers made groups, I was working on something and I had done an I will statement, and it was like I was at home and the opportunity, the temptation came up, and the realization also came up kind of right beside that I have a choice in this. And this was a long seated, habit of mine. But that realization that I have a choice to make. I don't have to do it the way I've always done it. Christ in me can help me make a better choice.
That's powerful. And that goes back to the statement of it's the fruit of the Spirit, not the wrangling of the Spirit. Like that just happened. It's the presence of Jesus in us, that identity, as you said, Myra, is what allows us new opportunities because he changes us from the inside out, changes our hunger, changes our appetites. So beautiful. Thank you for that. Okay, Myra, back to you. You were the first at your church, like you were one of the first churches outside of Westside Family where I was to embrace the character times calling equals impact definition for a disciple. And if you ask me, definitions matter because with no definition, there's no accountability, there's no specific pursuit, there's no pass fail. What's the I think it's a Peanuts thing where Linus shoots or Charlie Brown, I can't remember which one, shoots the arrow into the barn and then goes and draws a target around it to say I hit the target. It's like there's a scary element to creating definitions around disciple making because now all of a sudden we got to go. But definitions matter. It gives the ability to measure our being made righteous in a practical sense. So what made the character times calling equals impact equation attractive to you personally? And then Tiffany, will go to you.
Yeah. So I think what makes it most attractive to me, what made it attractive to me in the beginning was having just that concrete explanation that I could give people that said, no, when we're talking about growing in character, this is what discipleship means. It means becoming more like Jesus. I think we kind of been there with that. I was certainly there with that, but to have these concrete words that we're talking about growing in character, and that's things like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness. But then also the calling piece of it. And we had been a church that believed and did our best to practice the priesthood of all believers from the top down, but to bring that from the bottom up and that understanding of calling is something that I think Disciples Made and Fully Alive community does so well and is so needed. Those were the things that really attracted me.
Love it. Yeah. So just being specific about it and putting that measurable definition down. So Tiffany, little bit different question for you is like when you first heard this, like Myra was the champion of it. You're coming into a new situation. You're hearing this for the first time. Here, I'm going to pull the word candid out again. What was your first response to that, and what has changed over the time you've been there at Christ Lutheran?
Quite honestly, I loved it. I mean, I do love a good mathematical application. So I sometimes tend to think black and white. And so just like you said, definitions matter. So when this was put forward, like it just made sense. And then, like the second after that, I thought about the impact and just the magnitude and what that meant, So especially when you laid it out with the assessment that goes along with that, character times calling and to see it laid out with the fruits of the Spirit, but then also understanding your calling and applying it. It really sunk in for me, but then also, and then probably the third second was, okay, now we got to share this with other people. Everybody's got to understand this. So.
Oh, that's great. So it was not something you had to work to assimilate. That was something that just made sense naturally. So two things for our listeners real quick before we keep moving on. One, you can take the My Impact equation for free. All you have to do is download the Fully Alive by Disciples Made app. And if you are in that free section there, you can go down to blogs, assessments, etc. And the My Impact equation is there. We'll probably put the link in the story notes as well. You can take that absolutely for free. Make sure you pay attention to the video that says don't get discouraged by a low score, because almost everybody that does it for the first time gets a super low score, but the potential for growth is incredible, and you can feel the impact as that growth happens. You can feel it. Now, what is impact? That's the second thing to share just real quickly. Impact isn't like you're awesome. Impact, we actually give a very specific definition to that, and that's when things that happen on earth, both in your life and through your life, happen more like they would in heaven. And the reason that that's important is Jesus in the Lord's Prayer, after talking to God and at the beginning of the prayer saying, "Our Father who art in heaven, holy is your name," he addresses him, and then he makes his first petition, "Your kingdom come, Your will be done where? Here on earth as it is in heaven. And our goal, impact, is when things on earth happen the way they would in heaven. So this isn't about us. It's about Jesus and his glory breaking through us. So I'm going to go right down to this question. Is there a story of someone being made righteous, now that we've clarified what that is, growing in character and calling, that stands out above the rest that you can share with our listeners? And whoever's ready.
So
Did you
I
have
have a story. Oh,
Go ahead.
Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I experimented. It didn't work. Go, Myra. You seem ready.
we're both going to just jump in. Yeah, no, I'm doing a followers made right now with a small group of women. And I was just so excited. We just completed our 9th week, and our instructions last week were to take the My Impact equation again, the My Impact assessment again this week. We had done that 6 weeks earlier. And I was so excited as we sat and shared our results around the table. Everyone, all except one, experienced an increase in their score. And it was funny because we started out saying, oh, I was so afraid because I was afraid my score was actually going to go down. And after 6 weeks, they all saw an increase in that. The one lady who didn't said, I just was having a really bad week, and I'm sure that impacted how I answered the questions. So, but yeah, that was fun.
It's fun to watch that. They know the progress. They can see it in the score, and they can probably feel it in their lives. That's what's important. I love it. Tiffany, how about you?
Yeah, my example is actually really personal to me. It's my best friend Chelsea, and she, she's someone we met a few years ago, but I began the process of praying for their family just through principles that I was, currently studying through Followers Made, but also Missionaries Made as well, and using a resource called blesseveryhome.com. And I can go back and I can see those notes, but I think the biggest, I think the strongest tool through that was prayer. But there's just been this really incredible process of me, obediently following those next steps in our relationship and the conversations that we were having, that Chelsea was really able to wrestle with some things that she's asked several people, but never been really able to get the answer that sat right with her heart. And so it's been a few year process, but she, over time has really learned what it is that God has planned for her and who he has made her. And, long story short, like her and her entire family were brought to the waters of holy baptism, and she is just on fire, and the things that she is doing now and the habits that I already see in her life that are inspiring to me as well. So it's just been really cool to see his work through that. And then to be able to look back and to see where it all started with just the inkling of, I need to get to know this family. And then the second step of, for some reason, I need to help them understand what it means to be baptized. So it's just, I don't know, it's been humbling.
That's not boring.
Not by any means.
It's just not boring. It's a taste of what I think Jesus was getting at with this whole fully alive idea. You're pursuing character and calling. You're becoming a person that someone would be interested in getting to know. You're using your gifts to serve them. You're being faithful with that. They come to life. They get it. They see it. And there's something electric, magic, inspiring. I'm trying to think of the right words. But when you see that kind of work happening, that fully alive meter starts to ping over to the right, and I'm seeing you nod. So yeah, this is what Jesus wants for us. I'm hoping everybody is catching the idea here that Jesus didn't come for your life to be miserable. He came that your misery might turn to joy, and that your anxiety might turn to peace, and that your insecurities might turn into security, where you can. So I'm preaching again, so I'll stop. We're interviewing you, not me. So before wrapping up, just we've kind of taken a nice dive into this idea of becoming righteous, but let's just back away from that now and just what's one thing you'd want our listeners to hear about the character times calling equals impacts, the fully alive life which comes from it, that I haven't asked about yet? One thing you want to get across from your experience? And we'll start with Myra.
what comes to mind with that question is I don't know if we've really addressed clearly is the question of who it's for. I've known throughout my career in church work, throughout my life, a lot of people go, that's nice, but it's not for me. That's for the leaders. That's for somebody else. But it's for everybody. Like you said, that's where the excitement of Fully Alive comes in. And Jesus didn't die so that just a few people could live fully alive. He wants everyone to experience that fully alive life. And it's there for us.
Amen. I like what Rob Wagner says. He says it's our birthright.
Yeah.
And Jesus made it available. Very good. Tiffany.
Yeah, I think I very much echo what Myra has to say. And, just as I've been able to find my sweet spot, I want everybody else to have that as well. I want them to find the right seat on the bus. I want them to understand what it means to have those gifts and those habits and that really make things not easy necessarily. I mean, there's some days it's amazingly hard, but in the end, it's still rewarding. And that's the life that Jesus wants for everybody.
Yeah, it's so good. I'm so grateful to be able to do life with Christ Lutheran. Special relationship our family has with Christ Lutheran. Maybe my son married the daughter of the pastor there when they met in college and didn't know anything about each other's dads. So that's pretty cool. I'll actually be on your campus this weekend.
Yes, we're excited about that.
Yeah, I get to share in the teaching and then share and being a speaker at a volunteer event. So thrilled to be able to partner with the two of you, with Christ Lutheran as a whole. Just very, very grateful for the relationship. Well, we're going to sign off here. Thank you for your time. Thanks for your investment into this effort, and look forward to people hearing your story.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you, Brian.
You bet. God bless you guys.